بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أما بعد. To continue in the study of the book تذكرة السامع والمتكلم of Ibn Jamaah rahimahullah, we are still on the chapter or the part where the author rahimahullah he discusses that the student should give his teacher great status and know his status and honor him. He says in point number 7 regarding this topic is that you should not enter upon the shaykh in a sitting which is not general except by seeking permission, whether the shaykh is alone or not, whether he's alone or with him other than him. If he seeks permission, whereas the shaykh is aware of that permission being sought, and does not permit him to enter, then he should leave, and he should not repeat seeking permission at that instance. If he is doubtful whether the shaykh knows or not that he is seeking permission, he should not increase and seek permission above 3 times, or 3 door knocks. Now this issue of seeking permission is from the manners that is specific to the shaykh in general, to other than him, as one seeks permission to enter into a place which is not general. And as for seeking permission 3 times, then the Prophet ﷺ said, "Al-Istiqama thalathan فَإِنْ أُذِنَ لَكَ وَإِلَّا فَرْجِعْ." That seeking permission is 3 times. If you're permitted to enter, then that's for you, but if not, then return. So it's not something which one feels sad about if he's not permitted to enter. There may be a reason why the individual whose house it is, or in this case the shaykh, there may be a reason why he does not permit you to enter the house at that specific instance, or that specific sitting at this specific instance. If he does not permit you, then you leave, and you do not hold anything in your heart regarding that. There may be a reason for why permission was not granted. Then he says that the knocking of the door should be light, with manners, with the nails of the fingers. As for the nails of the fingers, knocking with the nails of the fingers, then it comes in a hadith reported by Al-Hakim and Al-Bayhaqi from Mughira Shu'ba radiallahu anhu, the Prophet ﷺ, or that the companions of the Prophet ﷺ used to knock on the door with their nails. He used to knock on his door alayhi salatu wasalam with their nails. This narration, Shaykh Abu Amr al-Hajuri clarifies here, the narration is not authentic from the Prophet ﷺ. It is not authentic from the Prophet ﷺ. He says then he should, after the manners of knocking with the nails, comes knocking with the fingers, and after that with making a circle with your fingers and knocking. And if it is something where it's known that the door is far away, then there is no problem with knocking in accordance so that the knock may be heard. Now this knocking of the door should be done in a way where the individual hears the knock. If you are aware that the room or the house or the area that the individual is in is very small, then knocking very lightly suffices. But if you feel you know that the area might be larger in size, or there may be people inside talking, and you are in need of knocking a bit harder, then one knocks a bit harder. So every instance has its knock. If he is permitted, then the author says, if he is permitted, he permits, and if he is permitted and they are a group, then the most noble of them is brought forth first, and the eldest of them is brought forth first with entering and giving salams upon him. Then after that, the more virtuous after him should be given the salams, and then as such continues. Shaykh Abu Amr Hajuri mentions that he starts with the noble one, and then after that to the right and to the right. And he says this is how one reconciles between the evidences. And then he says it's befitting that when he enters upon the Shaykh, he enters in a form which is complete. His body being pure and his clothing being pure. Both of them being clean. And that he should take from his nails, meaning clip his nails. He should have his hair well kept. And he should not have any bad smell, especially if this is a sitting of knowledge. For it is a sitting which is a sitting of remembrance of Allah and gathering in it for an act of worship. Now these points, the author mentioned Allah, this is a way that a student should enter into the sitting. A point that Shaykh Abu mentions is that, it's important, is that the Shaykh mentions, look at these manners and the characteristics of an individual when he enters the sitting of a Shaykh. He is in a complete form, he is pure in his body and his clothing, and they are both clean. He has clipped his nails and he does not have no bad smell, and his hair is well kept. He said this is the sitting of the Shaykh, and generally the sitting of when you go to someone who is deemed to be a high status. When you see or you deem someone to be a high status, when you go to that sitting, you go in a sitting well kept and presentable. He says, then what about when it comes to going to salah for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He says that you find that these people nowadays, they go to these sittings presentable and looking good. But when it comes to salah, you see him coming to Salatul Fajr with his sleeping clothes. You see him coming to Salatul Fajr with his sleeping clothes. Allah says, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. Take your beautification, adornment within every masjid. Mean to the salat. So he says, if this is the manners of how you should be with the Shaykh and those who you deem to be of high status, then it is more befitting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you do such, that you come in a presentable way, and you do not come, as many people as the Shaykh mentioned, they come in their sleeping clothes or they come unkempt. As for not having bad smell in these sittings, then it is known that the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the one who eats garlic or onions, they should not come to the masjid, so it does not cause harm. Similarly, one should not come to the sittings of knowledge with a bad smell, so that harm is not caused to those around him. The harm is not caused to those around him. So he should come in a presentable manner and should be clean in his body, his nails taken from clipped, his hair well kept, and as such not smelling bad. Then he says, whenever he enters upon the Shaykh in a sitting which is general, and he has amongst him those who are speaking to him, then he should remain silent from speaking. Or if he enters upon the Shaykh and the Shaykh is alone praying, or remembering Allah, or writing, or going through research, then he should leave that and remain silent. And he should not start him with speech, or elongate speech with him. He should give salams and leave fast, except if the Shaykh encourages him to stay. If he stays, he should not increase in staying above that which he is commanded with. And this is an important point of benefit. You find that sometimes you are studying, or you are researching, or you are doing something of knowledge, and someone comes and he sits with you. And you try in a nice manner to indicate towards him that you are busy and occupied with something. And he sits and he will not get up and leave. And rather, what's worse than that, he starts to talk to you about certain affairs. Whilst your mindset right now is not to talk about affairs other than what you are intending of seeking knowledge or benefiting yourself or researching or remembering Allah or praying, whatever it may be. But he sits and he talks, and he may even talk about that which has no benefit in it, thinking by way of this that he is giving you comfort and he is comforting himself. And this is wrong. Rather, if you see someone occupied with something or busy with something, you do not busy him. That the busy one should not be preoccupied. The busy one should not be occupied with something other than that which is occupied with already. So it's important that this manner be, that you should be thoughtful of what the individual is doing, and not be from those who ruin the sitting of the individual. For you might find that because of you not standing up, he makes an excuse and he leaves. Why? Because it's the only way of him saying in a nice way that he has no time right now to sit and talk. Then he says it's befitting that you enter upon the Shaykh. When you enter upon the Shaykh, you sit with him whilst your heart is clear and free from the different affairs that preoccupy it, and that his mind is clean, and pure, and not in a state of being tired, or in a state of being angry, or in a state of severe hunger, or in a state of severe thirst, or similar to that, so that his heart can be open to accepting that which is said, and that he may comprehend that which he hears. For if his mind is angry, or he is tired, or he is in severe hunger, or he is very thirsty, he will not be able to comprehend what is being said to him. His mind is preoccupied with these other affairs. So one should come to the sittings of knowledge with their mind free from being preoccupied with affairs like this, so that when he sits and he listens, he understands and comprehends what the teacher is mentioning, and that he comprehends it the right way. You find that some people, when they sit in these sittings, they think that they've comprehended something the right way, but because they have so much affairs going on in their mind, they hear one or two statements, and from those one or two statements they try to build on that what they think the teacher said, and based on that they may even have misunderstanding, and based on the misunderstanding it might lead to them spreading something which is wrong. So it's important when you come to the sittings, you come with your mind free from these things, that affairs are preoccupied, so you may pay attention and comprehend properly and correctly. Then the author rahimahullah says, if he enters the place of the shaykh, if he enters the place of the shaykh and he does not he does not see him sitting there. I mean, if he comes to where the shaykh generally teaches, and he does not see him sitting there, he waits for him, so that he does not miss a lesson. For every lesson he misses, there is no making up for it. There is no making up for it. And he should not knock on his door to tell him to come out. If he is sleeping, he should be patient until the teacher wakes up. Or he should leave and then return. But being patient is better for him. For it's been reported from Ibn Abbas that he used to sit and seek knowledge at the door of Zayd ibn Thabit until he used to wake up. It was said to him, why did you not wake him up? He said, no. Why? Because that is how they were taught to seek knowledge. And perhaps it was that the sun would get hot and bother him. But that is how the Salaf they used to be. They used to be patient upon seeking this knowledge. And they used to honor their teachers and give them honor due to that which their status necessitates. And then he says that he should not seek from his teacher to read to him in a time which is hard upon him. Or in a time which the teacher generally does not read at that time, or does not teach at that time. Al-Iqra here means that they used to go sit and read to the teacher. Whereas nowadays, you go to the teacher, when you go to the class, similarly, you do not go to seek from the teacher to teach at a time when it's hard upon him, or when it is generally not from his customs to teach at that time. Nor should he ask the teacher to make a time specific to him, where no one else can attend. If he is someone who is ra'isan kabiran, if it's someone who is high status, even if it is someone of high status, why? Because that is in a form of raising yourself and arrogance upon the shaykh and the students of knowledge. And perhaps the teacher might even become shy from him and leave it alone due to that which is more important for him in that time. Meaning he might leave something more important that time out of shyness. So you now harmed him. Why? Because he feels too shy to say no to you, and he has other affairs that he must take care of at that time. But because he felt too shy, he didn't say no to you, and now you've harmed him. And for that reason, he says that the student will not become successful if this occurs. But if the teacher starts him at a specific time, or gives him a specific time due to there being something preventing the student from attending with the congregation, or you see that there's a benefit in it, then there's no problem with that. These are important points that the author rahimahullah mentions in this part. Why? Because you find many of the students or the brothers, they do not pay attention to many of these points. These points are important. Example, seeking permission when you go to a sitting which is not a sitting which is of general folk, rather a specific sitting or a sitting which is not general. You have to seek permission to enter that sitting. And if the permission is not given to you, then you do not enter. And you do not keep knocking on the door, hoping that the door may open. Why? There may be a reason why the door is not opening for you. Unless it's something of severe necessity that you need that door to be open, then you can continue to knock. If not, then knock 3 times, and after that, you leave. If it is not open for you, or you're told to leave, then you leave. Why? There may be a reason for why they are not accepting your seeking permission, your permission being sought. Similarly, the author mentioned a great benefit here, that you should not knock too hard. You should not knock too hard. Perhaps you may knock too hard and you scare those who are in the house or those who are in the sitting with that form of knock. Rather, you knock in accordance with that which the knock may be heard by those inside. Similarly, you come to these sittings in a sitting which is a way which is presentable. You do not come sit to these sittings of knowledge in where Allah and His Messenger ﷺ are mentioned, and where knowledge is spread in a sitting in a way which is not of complete we're not able to present yourself properly. It comes the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, that when he came to the Prophet ﷺ, it's shadid bayad al-thiyab, shi sawad al-sha'r la yura alayhi athar al-safar, that he was well kept hair and his clothing was very white. He came well kept and presented to the Prophet ﷺ. Similarly, as he mentions here, rahimahullah, that if the teacher is busy and preoccupied with something, you do not sit there and continue to try to talk with him. Rather, you give your salams and you make an excuse and you leave. Rather, you give your salams and you leave. You do not sit with him for perhaps he is occupied with something, and you bothering him and taking away from that which he is occupied with harms him. Although you may find that this is comfortable for you, it may not be comfortable for him. So the same way that you want something of benefit for yourself, look at the benefit of the teacher as well. In this case, his benefit is that you do not stay. So in this case, you leave. You leave him in his that which he's preoccupied with. Similarly, do not come to the class in a state of your mind being preoccupied with many things, for perhaps you may not understand what is being said. And if you understand it, you may understand it wrong. And if you understand it wrong, then you will go and spread something that you did not understand correctly. And due to that, you will cause fitna not only for yourself, but fitna and trials for the teacher himself. And this has occurred where people have misunderstood and miscomprehended what the teacher has said, and later on they have spread it, and someone may go to the teacher later on and say, did you say such and such? I heard you said such and such. And he said, I never said that, or I never intended that, or that is not what I said in the first place. So it's important. Similarly, if he sees that the teacher is not there at that time, he should not just rush and leave. Rather, he should wait. He should wait, especially nowadays when these phones are available. You can contact another student or someone else and ask if the sheikh is coming. You wait a bit. You do not leave. You say, oh, the teacher didn't attend, so then you leave. Maybe something occurred and the teacher is on his way. And the last point that he mentioned is that you go to the teacher at times which is suitable for him. You do not make times for yourself, or you do not ask for specific times. Rather, you go to times when it's suitable for the teacher. So this, inshallah, will end and continue next week. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.